Welcome back to the Red Path. Today, Dara and I are doing a live stream, but if you're watching this later on, it'll be re-uploaded at a later time. And we're going to give our hot take opinions on the new GW terrain. Well, it's for the US Open series, like their suggested examples of terrain layouts that they're going to be using. And I think over time will become a kind of standard, is my opinion. What were your first thoughts on them, just briefly, Dara?
I seesawed hard in the first 10 minutes when I saw these. I was like, oh, there's no terrain on this board. And then I was like, there's too much terrain on this board. And now I have settled on somewhere in between of I like the terrain on this board
Right.
for the most part. Initially I was kind of like, whoa, this is a very interesting board.
Yeah.
Like I tried to kind of set it up myself and realized I don't quite have enough big pieces of terrain. I'm missing about like one of those medium pieces and one of the big pieces,
And you've got
which
quite a
is
lot of terrain yourself, don't you?
I do, but
Yeah.
like it's like one of those things, right, where a lot of the terrain I have would not be usable on this board, right?
Right.
If you get me. Like I have a lot of barricades, I have a lot of like small runes, I have a
Yeah.
lot of the STC Rise of Pattern runes. I have like
Yes.
2 boxes of those.
Okay.
I have like a lot of like pill boxes and kind of like that sort of an effort, which
Yeah.
like, and I have a million cargo containers,
Yeah.
which is all good terrain normally.
Yeah.
But this is so I have 3 giant L's basically, and
Yeah.
then I have like a smaller L. So I need to get another big L and another smaller kind
I
of
think
L.
so the on the one on the screen right now, like the medium ruins or the small ruins, the one on the left and the right, you could make that out of cargo containers.
True.
Like,
Yeah. True.
like, or I mean, if you've got a whole bunch of them, you could make a couple
Oh,
of.
I do.
You can make like a shipping yard or whatever, and have,
Yep.
like blocks of cargo containers, like 3 high or something, as the main ruins. I mean, I think whilst the way it's presented to us is as like a ruined city, it's more about the footprint,
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
and making sure, like in this example, they want to have at least 3 sides with the implication to me is line of sight blocking terrain, even though GW terrain doesn't block line of sight very well, but
Yeah.
obviously obscuring helps. So,
Yeah.
but
But like, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting setup. I'm saddened that there's no creators because I've really grown to like creators a lot
creators
in my
add
games at
such a
home.
dynamic.
They're so cool, dude, and
Yeah,
especially with Titanic now ignoring them, I'm like,
yeah,
oh, it's cool. I'm a little bit sad there's no barricades.
yeah.
I know like the runes are their own form of barricades and stuff, but I'm a sucker for a little bit of a defense line, you know.
Yeah. Well,
And
and they've
the
given us rules for every kind of bespoke thing, and we're not using. We've got no heavy cover on here. We've got no like the cargo containers with like exposed position or whatever.
yeah.
There's no craters. There's nothing other. I mean, the dense cover prevents like something can't move through dense cover, isn't it?
Uh,
I thought it
can
does.
vehicles?
So there's something that gets restricted. Like Titanic can move over it under a certain situation, but I think I don't know. We'll go into that because I've got all the
Yeah.
rules. I just don't want to bring them up at this second.
I know Titanic can move over barricades now. I
Yeah.
don't know if they can directly pass over dents.
Yeah, it's like it's like a weird caveat because I was reading over
Yeah.
them. But yeah, we'll get to that after. But all right, so before we go onto all that, let's briefly talk about Warhammer Plus because anyone watching live has already heard us talk about it. But let's just like first of all, good bad Warhammer Plus.
Good, in my opinion.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. What of all the content that's coming for it? For anyone who doesn't know, you're getting all the animations, like released mostly weekly, from what I can gather. You're getting battle reports, lore masters, hobby tutorials, and tips and tricks and all that stuff. In addition, this is for an extra couple quid or an extra couple dollars on top of the Warhammer app. Very reasonable. Out of all those things, what of those are you most looking forward to?
Uh, Broken Lance, the animation. Knights versus Chaos
Fair enough.
Knights, dude, that's my jam,
You know what?
I
I'd
think that
watch
looks
it.
really cool. To be fair, all the animations look
Yeah.
really, really interesting, but some have definitely caught my eye. That's for me, that's what I'm most excited for. But yeah, what about you, dude? What are you most hyped for?
The animations, obviously, but I'm like obviously we were talking before about well, you was talking about the battle reports there, and I am actually really into the narrative battle reports. Like, don't get me wrong, if I'm playing the game, right now certainly I'm very much competitive focused, but I love narrative. I especially love narrative campaigns, like multi-battle. Playing over a couple of weeks or a month or something. I love that, and I love.
Do you remember? I can't remember what it was called, but remember GW used to have that thing where it was like the hexagonal map
Yeah,
that you could.
Cities of War. No.
What was it called? You know what I'm talking about, though,
Yeah,
right?
I can only
Yeah,
think of
that was
Cities
so
of Death,
cool.
but that's like a.
That was an expansion,
Yeah,
yeah.
expansion.
Oh, I can't remember what it was called, but
Someone
that
in
was
chat
so
let us
cool.
know.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
I really liked how you could like control territory, like
Yeah.
narrative. So like
Mighty Empire. No, what's that? God damn it.
massive shout out to my local store as well, because before COVID we did run a narrative campaign like that where we had a map printed off
Oh, wow.
of an area with all those like hexagonal segments and you
Yeah.
could control them and stuff. I was a big fan of that. That was good
Yeah.
fun.
I tried to buy that a couple years ago because I just thought it was awesome.
Yeah. So cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hyped for that too, though, dude. I think those are going to look really good.
Yeah,
It'll be
yeah,
really
exactly. That's
interesting.
the thing. Andrew says, not sure if it's that great of a deal. Have to wait and see. I really think it is. Now, it's going to depend on your location and what the price point is where you live in the world. So, for me, in US dollars, considering now this is a big part of it. I already pay for the app. So it's like an extra $250 or something a month for the animations. Now, sure, there's a lot of animations and stuff, but over the you could binge watch them all in a week if you had access to it.
Oh yeah,
straight away.
easy.
But they're going to release them, one episode a week or whatever. Bat reps, I like that they're there, and whilst I'm going to try my best to watch some, they are very much a thing of you have to have the expendable time to watch. Like a half-hour cartoon or a 20-minute cartoon, I've got time for that. I used to watch bat reps all the time, but basically ever since starting the Red Path, I very rarely get to watch much.
I'm
It's
exactly
so
the
hard.
same. Yeah. It's really tough. I watch the ones I want to watch, and like I'm a huge fan of TTT.
Yeah.
I generally kind of put my bat rep time towards them just because I think they're a fantastic entertainment facility. So I find it hard to believe that I'm going to watch every bat rep on this. And like I think it's totally fair to wait and see as well for Warhammer Plus. Like there's no obligation that you have to get it immediately, and I don't think people necessarily should if they're on the fence about this. Like wait 3 months, and if in 3 months time,
use your money wisely.
Be sensible.
For instance, if you're not interested in it, honestly don't buy it. There'll be plenty of us telling you it's good or bad after a few months. Like, make an informed decision.
Absolutely, wait and see.
Like we talked about earlier, right? So you get, after a year's subscription, or 10 months if you're already subscribed in that, you get the either the Vindicare or the Auric model, which is roughly about, you said about €30.
Thereabouts, I think, yeah. I think the Mega Boss might be more, but I know the Vindicare is around.
I know over here it'd be about $35 to $40 for a Vindicare Assassin, I think. So that's half of the year's subscription tied up in a model. So if you take that off the top, the actual price, because you're getting a cool model that you can either, paint and enjoy, you can play with it if you have that army, you can sell it to a buddy if they want it, there's options there, and it's an exclusive model. I'm going to use my Vindicare because I think it's badass, but that's half the value basically tied up in one model, so the remainder is actually at half price, is the way I'm looking at it.
Yep.
But then, so Andrew says, bat reps and tutorials are already on YouTube and they're very good. Yep, that is a fair point.
Yeah, I very much agree with
But
that. Yeah.
like what we talked about earlier, and this is for Andrew and for anyone who's in that kind of position. The battle reports. Okay, so you mentioned tabletop tactics. Absolutely, like they're you think of them, mini wargaming, Striking Scorpion, Winters and DZTV. The battle report people that, whilst may do competitive stuff, also have a strong narrative thing. Think how their tables look, right? They look beautiful. But they are not Games Workshop. They are small businesses that have built up a collection. They're hobbyists that have become a small business, or a fairly large business in some cases. Games Workshop has an army of professional painters. They produce their own terrain. There's basically no upper limit to the display they could provide us.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know, like, obviously we've both been to Warhammer World,
Yeah.
and I don't know if anyone else here in the chat has, but I can probably speak for both of us saying I walked around that exhibition hall with my mouth hanging open at the display. Like,
Yeah.
man, I specifically, you know that one, it's like the Eandon versus the Tyranids on the Lava World?
Yeah.
If they do battle reports and that kind of stuff, dude, like I'll watch that stuff just for the aesthetics. I think it's gonna look really cool. But yeah, look, I mean, it's obviously not necessarily going to be for everyone.
Yeah.
And that's totally fine. Like,
Yeah.
we're not here to be like, hey, you gotta buy
No,
it.
I-
We're not here to say like, don't buy it. We're here to say, make up your own minds.
In my opinion, it's a decent deal, but there are valid criticisms. I just want to point out a couple of things. Some idiot in the chat said, spend the money on drills. Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, hashtag drill gang.
Yep, drill gang completely.
Yep.
That is,
Yep.
you should be spending that. Short of you just having a new baby that is under the age of 1 month, all your expendable income should be going on drills.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. I have taken out a mortgage for drills.
So it was my daughter's birthday a little while ago, and she was like, "Oh, I really want all this stuff off of for the anime stuff she's watching." I was like, "Sorry, darling, I just bought 17 drills from Forge World."
It's really unfortunate, but you're gonna. Would you like a drill? Because I have that.
No, she's not getting a drill. No. But yeah. So
to be fair, those things are heavy and dangerous. So yeah.
Andrew wants to spend his money on models, which is fair, absolutely fair.
Yeah, totally fair, totally fair. I totally respect that.
We have to be, we have to be responsible with, what we're not spending on drills.
Yeah.
God, even when we're not shilling for GW, we're shilling for GW. It's terrible.
But like, I mean, no, totally. Like, if you, I think it's always a good idea to have a budget for your miniature spending, and if this doesn't fit into that, just don't go for it. You know,
it's the least important part of hobby expenditure. I'm luckily in a position where I can afford it, and it's honestly for me, the cartoon element. I think I can rope my daughter in a bit with it, and I think I can get my wife to watch some of it with me. I don't expect either of them. I'm still working on my daughter to play again, but I think ultimately it's a good way to bring your friends and family in to maybe be a bit okay. That this is actually kind of cool. You're not just a dork that plays with toy soldiers. But Master Rage Cage says it's interesting to me that they're basically taking all the community elements, bat reps, painting, etc., lore, and making them official. However, I will contend that I think GW is going to be very, insular in what they present. They are going to own their copyright, and they are going to be bound by their own rules of sticking very strictly to them.
Which for me is why I probably am going to be watching the painting masterclass, because the stuff I want to learn is stuff GW can't teach me. Because
they're not going to be using Vallejo paints.
Exactly.
They're not going to be using Army Painter or any of the weird stuff. Like they'll be unlikely to be using because they don't have their own brand of green stuff, do they? I know
No, they
they've got
do.
liquid
Yeah.
green stuff.
And they have regular green stuff
Oh,
as
they
well.
do? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's going to be things, and I don't think it's going to take anything away from YouTube channels. I don't think...
No, I don't think so.
MWG, Tabletop Tactics, anyone who produces battle reports or lore videos is going to suffer in the slightest. In fact, and I could be wrong, I think, honestly, lore videos are the ones that maybe hurt the most, because I think that's the area where GW is more likely to, make IP claims on and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's always been the case. And that is regardless of them having lore masters. Which I think sucks. I wish GW didn't do that for the most part.
There's no need.
Yeah.
You know.
But I think it's a case of a rising tide floats all boats, or whatever it is. I think GW investing in this can bring more people in, and then more people come in and can be like, okay, how do I use oil paints? I wonder if there's a chap on this YouTube channel called The Red Path who might have a tutorial at some point about oil paints.
I got you. I got oils, I got enamels, I got pigments. I got everything that's potentially dangerous for your body.
Oh my god, you've even got a rap for it, so...
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, I'm glad it doesn't compete with our hobby content, because I like to diversify. But you know what? I think so I'm like thinking back in time, like 3 years ago, before I started experimenting with different mediums of painting and stuff. I had this like mindset of like, I'm only going to use, Citadel paints and stuff. And I know some people are very scared to try out new stuff. So the masterclass will be very good for them for sticking in that range and sticking in their comfort zone.
Yeah.
So look, there's something for everyone, basically, which is a good thing.
Because I'm not going to watch a single painting video. I'm not going to watch anything to do with hobby on there. I'm just not.
Fair. Because you're watching my content, right? You don't need to. I'm already giving you everything.
I literally have to.
Dude, you
People
kill me.
make videos about this shit. I mean, what the heck? No, I do what
That's
I do.
Why
watch hobby
you brought
stuff.
me in.
No, I do watch hobby tutorials and stuff. I generally stick more towards terrain and stuff because I like that. But
it's so satisfying to watch those videos.
Yeah. But I love like Luke's APS and stuff, or Geek Gaming or whatever those called now. But like Vince Venturella.
Oh yeah, he's so good.
Yeah, like if I've got a question, he's honestly I'll look at him first, and if he doesn't have an answer, because I watch like Black Magic Craft and stuff, but again it's more terrain based. But there's a few people I will watch when I've got a very specific question for my 3 days a year of actual painting. So, because that's all you're getting out of it. Okay, well I think we've given our hot take. We support it, but also, I'm in favour of it, and it seems like you're in favour of it.
Yep.
In a general, it looks to be positive way, but by all means, make your own decisions. Like.
Oh yeah, don't listen to us,
Yeah, for God's sake,
don't listen to what some person on the internet tells you,
Never.
But sit down and decide if it's for you, if it's feasible, if it's, all those kind of things. And make your own decision,
Yeah.
If you want to wait 3, 9, a year, just wait and see how it goes. And if it's worthwhile after that, fair enough. If it's not, just don't. Everyone's going to kind of be different on this one, I think.
Sorry, Mark just said about reaction videos. About GW doing reaction videos on the app. Oh god. I hate those thumbnails.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god. I would pay money to watch that though.
I think, well, to be fair, we have to do a reaction video if there's ever any form of World Eaters content.
100%, yeah.
I think I would, I think I would try and restrain myself from reading any of it for like a live stream, so I can just you can properly see when I don't think you guys have ever seen me properly lose control when I read new rules. No one knew me when I opened Faith and Fury and saw Gorefather like that.
Okay.
I wasn't around back then. I wasn't making tacticals or anything. Yeah. So, yeah, everyone missed when I screamed the house down.
Damien, Damien, Black Legion from Instagram's in. What's up, man?
Hey,
He's
dude.
coming to the LVO.
Oh,
What?
hype! Nice.
Yeah.
Hell
He
yeah.
messaged me. He's like, him and his best friend, who I think lives next door to him or in the apartment next door or something. I believe they both bought tickets. I was like, yeah.
Ooh, that's hype.
Yeah.
Dude, that's so cool. Like, yeah, I've had a couple of people like say to me that they're going to be at Coventry GT, or
Yeah.
like, I know Dean from Berserk Painting said he
Yeah.
might call down as well.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I'm so
It's
hyped to
cool,
like meet
yeah.
these people, and just like hang out, have a good
Yeah.
time. So
It's
yeah,
like,
it's a nice feeling. It's gave me a nice buzz when
Yeah.
I saw that kind of stuff.
well,
So yeah, pretty hyped that you're going to meet some people.
who is it? Mark, I believe, is trying to get a ticket, or said he was. Mark of Khorne is gonna try and get a ticket. Ben Sanson said he was thinking about it. Hetty from Discord. I think he's bringing Necrons, but that's fine.
Oh, cool,
Whatever.
nice.
There's a couple of people on Instagram I know who are going. So, yeah,
Yep.
I think it's gonna be cool. And yeah, it's like we're gonna have to figure out t-shirts. We're gonna have to get Red Path t-shirts sorted out before these events, man.
Oh, I already have mine in the works. I've got
Do
the
ya?
Drill Gang shirt going.
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
I
Well,
have the Drill Gang one, and I have the one that Krieger suggested to me that like your Uber has arrived, where it's like the
Oh,
Dreadclaw
the
smashing into the
claw,
guardsmen. Yeah. So yeah, I can't wait for those. Yeah, I want to make a name for myself at the Coventry GT. I want to be the crazy dude who goes 0-8.
Now,
But has a good time doing it.
I ran this by Mark and Ben, and I'm gonna like, as the events approach, gonna kind of obviously talk about it more. But I think here's what my suggestion is: everyone who like follows the channel, follows either of us on Instagram or on Reddit or wherever, right? And we have like a sphere of influence. We need to establish a thing for official events, right? Because you all know, like, when you go to, whether it's a Rogue Trader or a Super Major, you look at the roster. Oh, there's 3 other World Eaters players here, right?
Oh,
That's
dude,
cool.
first thing I always look for, yeah.
Right? So here's what we do. It's game 1. Dice down, or first dice, you've rolled off. Someone's blood for the blood god! Real loud. As soon as you hear that, you've got to respond skulls for the skull throne. And just get that shit bouncing around the hallway, I want to hear that kind of stuff. But,
Drills for the Drill Gang and all that.
Yeah. Hashtag Drill Gang! Oh, God.
But yeah, it's gonna be hype. It's gonna be hype. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm stoked. I'm so sad that it's like I still have to wait another 5 months before that. But
Yeah.
I think there potentially will be a GT the week before in Ireland. There's usually one like the last weekend of October, so I'm gonna try on my list of that if it's going ahead.
All right, let's sort of segue in, kind of talking about tournaments. Let's just briefly talk about the ITC code of conduct that dropped. This is not an awful lot, but I do want to bring it up because it is news. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Overall impression?
Look, good for sportsmanship stuff.
Yes.
Establishing conduct, establishing good behavior. I mean, that's basically all it was, and I'm happy to see it that we're moving into an angle where the game is going to be more open to people who haven't been to tournaments before, and also you'll get called out if you rag on people who are not necessarily as experienced in the game. So look, everything in there sort of implied better behavior, which is the main thing.
Yeah, I like. Now, I'm kind of weird because on the one hand I'm very like laissez-faire. Want people to be responsible for their own actions. On the other hand, I recognise that the problem with the world is that it's full of humans, and we're all assholes, quite frankly, and very few of us are genuinely altruistic, right? We act selfishly, and that's the reason we have a social contract, why we have laws and rules and things. And in a game with a prize at the end, people become shit. You get cheats. You get people who run their mouth and have a bad attitude, or who are using language that is not appropriate for what is essentially a family, something that's open to the family. If not,
There's no age limit on a tournament.
Exactly right. because like when me and you are talking privately, we'll F and S and whatever, like cuss, and whilst I'm not afraid to swear on here, it's just like try not to. Just have a bit of respect for, if someone's watching on their cell phone on the bus and like there's a kid next door. I don't want to be the reason. What was that man with a funny accent saying? Fuck this. Yeah. But we need the code of conduct. Sorry. To spell out to some people, don't cheat. Don't game your opponent. Treat your opponent with respect. Don't touch your opponent's models without permission. Don't waste their time. Like, it's the obvious stuff, right?
But man, when people like grab my stuff and like,
the hands in the bag of Cheetos, right?
And then
if I see them, that's a really nice Leviathan, Dara.
Yeah, no. Like, that's like my pet peeve. I'm just like, not that I'm like, all of my paint jobs are like so good that like you can't touch them. I'm just like, please, these are mine. Like, I'm not coming over like being like, hey, cool, I like your Baneblade, and I like pick it up and take it away. Now it's mine. So yeah, I don't know. It's like it's an etiquette thing, and it's a cleanliness thing too, especially with COVID. Just don't grub on people's stuff.
For God's sake, yeah. It's at my RTT last week. The Tyranids player I was playing, right, with his like really beautifully painted army. He asked me, hey, can you adjust that model for me? Like, because it was on my side of the board and it was like kind of round behind a rune. And I'm like, I don't want to. Like, I don't want to touch it because like I'm just worried that like in the second it takes me to move my hand there, I'm gonna start secreting acid or something, and like, or like I'm just gonna turn into like a clumsy oaf and like accidentally smash the model.
Right,
because like. I mean, I just nudged the base in the end because I genuinely didn't want to, like, I don't know, that is ridiculous, but because he asked me to, but like it was so really well painted. Now, if it's my army, I'm like, hey, can you just shove those berserkers over? Like, I literally don't care if you just, as long as they go roughly where I want them, like that. But that's because I haven't spent hours and hours painting them, and like it's kind of different. But your models or my opponent's models, I will respect. Yeah, because it's not my place to touch them. And
no, they spend money and time on those things.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, I think the code of conduct is a good step in the right direction. I mean, I know you mentioned a couple things to me probably before we went online. But it does feel like there's a couple of opportunities that maybe haven't been wholly clarified.
Yep.
But and I agree. But it's going to be like a living document, I think.
Exactly. It will evolve as the need arises.
Yeah.
So for now it's good. It's another step in the right direction. I mean, my biggest gripe is like I want to see more. Okay, this is going to sound pretty harsh, but like, I want to see more long-term effects for people who breach conduct. I want to see yellow cards mean something from one tournament to another.
Yeah.
That's a different discussion. We could do a video on that maybe sometime because there's too much to talk about, and we want to get into the meat and potatoes of it as such. Yeah. But yeah, I agree. That's something that I really hope as things move on that I'd love to see an official.
With TJ Lanigan, there were lasting effects.
Yeah.
Now, this is presumably a little bit in response to that, but yes, I agree. I think for serious breaches of decorum, someone who says something racist or sexist, someone who obviously and intentionally cheats their opponent, someone who makes a grievously unsporting action, DQ or yellow card depending on what it is, obviously, but for things that really cross that line, which is the bigoted just remarks, for instance, or any kind of harassment or actual cheating. If you're doing anything that will directly impact the comfort or welfare of anyone else in that event, I think there should be anything up to a lifetime ban, depending on severity and things. And I think they need to work on
it's
that.
obviously a really difficult subject for them, and I would not envy them the task, but I think it's really, really difficult because obviously you don't want to go heavy-handed in such a niche hobby, but
but
it's not really niche anymore, you know. If we've got events like the LVO that have like 800 people going to them, that's not a niche hobby anymore, or a small event. You know, there has to be accountability at that point. There needs to be proper consequences, and man, I don't know. It's a really, really tough discussion to have, but I think we crossed the line where the game needs to be considered more seriously than it already is. So I would like to see a bit more restrictions, bit more sort of rules and stuff come into that.
I know, I definitely think we got another video in this. Because I just want to keep talking about it now, but no. Let's jump on to the terrain. So for anyone who's watching who's not familiar or hasn't been online in the last week, so obviously Games Workshop announced their 3 events on the southern coast of the United States: Florida, Louisiana, and Texas, and they released what I believe is an example or an incomplete version of their tournament pack. I'm pretty sure that it says for the maps, especially what's on the screen over here, these are some examples of. So I don't think the 2 versions we've got are the complete picture, but I could have interpreted that wrong. Nevertheless, we've got this map here that everyone can see, and we've also got this version here, and we want to talk about what they mean for the missions, what they mean for World Eaters and combat armies, and what our initial thoughts of, because we've looked at them, but we haven't done it, we haven't prepared with a tactica, so we're basically brainstorming live at the moment. We've both got our thoughts, I think, but so let's start off with this one here, Dara. I take it my screen's still sharing for you, right?
Yep. Yeah, I got it.
Okay. So this one here with I'm gonna quickly go over the basics. These large 4 ruin. Oh my god, I can't even draw. So these 4 large grey squares here, right? These are area terrain with ruins. They've got 3-sided ruins in each, kind of facing inside, and this is what GW suggests. Then we've got 2 ruins or area terrains over here with light cover, breachable, scalable, etc. Then in the corners, there's 4 areas of dense cover. So the -1 to hit if you're within it, behind it. So let me clear those. First impressions of this map, Dara. Regardless of where your deployment zone is, what do you think about amount of terrain, range of terrain, that sort of stuff?
The amount is definitely good. It's what I want to see.
Right.
It's a lot. The range of terrain, I suppose, is not exactly what I want to see. I want a little bit more diversity, but I understand the more types of terrain you add into the mix, the harder it gets to balance between every army, every matchup, every deployment, blah, blah, blah. You know, so fair enough. They're keeping it simple as such, but, you know, in the interest of fairness for every army and every deployment, sometimes that can be a very good thing.
Yeah.
So I like it. It's really hard to not be biased because obviously these terrain types really, really suit the war leaders, like so much so that I'm like, damn, this probably takes this up a significant tier in the competitive standing. This makes life pretty easy for us. Like I would say there's not really much of a risk of us getting blown out of our transports before we want to get to where we want to be. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, man.
No, that's kind of what I think anyway.
Okay, so yeah, I like my LVO list is developing along a path of not not quite a null deploy, but like a 50% off the board, 50% hiding. Because that's just how I'm trying to work it, because of AdMech and the expectation that I'll be facing a hell of a lot of smite type stuff by that period and things like that. I want protection in any way I can, but also to be offensively capable in turn one with what is hidden and being mobile to come out and shoot where possible. If the ITC suddenly says, you know what, for the LVO we're going to use this terrain setup, that changes how my list works. That changes what my list is going to be, because of exactly what you just said. The amount of terrain, so let me throw some deployment. So we've got retrieval, okay, right here. So I'll because I know it's smaller on the screen. Here's the ruins that if we're starting in player A on the left side. So I'm just highlighting the where the borders of the actual ruin will be, because this footprint, let's throw a different color. This large grey box, right? That's, from some pictures I've seen, that's actually like a overlay, like a neoprene mat that provides a base for the terrain. So GW appear to have created bases for their terrain.
Okay.
So the red is the walls of the ruin, and then the blue is what counts as area terrain. So we can see you've got about 3 inches of terrain, something like that, in your deployment zone, with 2 walls and a terrain piece to hide behind. We can also front line, just say berserkers for sake of argument here, or raptors would be a better one. Like, instantly we're front lined, we're receiving light cover, and whilst we're not benefiting from the obscure of this terrain piece,
we will be from others though.
Right?
Yep.
this one, and this one, and potentially this one, depending on like forward deploys and where they come. Like, where they stand on the map, they still have to work to be able to see us. And I think
work hard too.
Sorry, go ahead.
They have to work hard, really hard, to like the amount of, for me, the biggest deal is the amount of interposing terrain between features. If you take, for example, hypothetically, let's just say we have a squad of Havocs in the dense terrain in the top left corner. And they have an enemy squad down here in the smaller piece of ruins in their deployment zone. There's this one exactly. There's 3 pieces of terrain between us and them.
Yeah,
that's crazy. I don't think I've ever had so much interposing terrain on a board. Yeah. It's great for our deployment. It makes deployment really easy. Like I'm looking at this board and I'm thinking about my list and I'm saying, okay, cool. So behind the top left rune, we got a drill, we got a Leviathan. You know,
up here,
I think more like here, and exactly the same on the bottom. We have the same thing. We have drill number 2, Leviathan number 2.
Yep.
You know, I'm probably starting a squad in that middle ruin.
Yeah.
I'm pointing at my screen, but obviously you can't see it. I don't know why I'm doing it.
There's an objective here, so yeah. Well,
yeah, and I've got a squad of raptors there. You know, they're gonna do some objective work straight away, or maybe I'll put them, you know, in a corner to do. You know what's actually great? I'll put them in that frontline position that you highlighted for them, and I'm just gonna in that little exactly. And I'm gonna do Khorne's treasure hunt straight away.
Yep.
You know,
so here's something.
It's so good.
With this deployment, this terrain, here's something I thought of. For this, so we've got retrieval, then we've got scorched earth, which is essentially the same, just different objectives. Then you've got battle lines, which is another hot dog, and then you've also got the scouring. Which
we all hate the scouring. Yeah.
So for all of these, right? This position here. The 2 dense covers, you can put a squad of infantry inside and receive -1 to hit. So from about here all the way down there, you've got clear line of sight, but you're in a fairly secure position, receiving -1 to hit. Squad of Havocs wouldn't be terrible right there with autocannons, missile launchers.
Not at all. Yeah. Yep.
I'm not saying they've suddenly become good, but they've suddenly got another feather in their cap, because that's kind of tasty. That I understand.
It's a really nice position.
This is a very small flank, but if you control these as an infantry combat army, your opponent can either come down the middle or they can come through the ruins. And if I've got berserkers in these ruins, or raptors in these ruins, or red butchers in these ruins, the last thing they want to be doing is coming through the ruins. Obviously they'll have Repentia or something that fights us on equal terms, but your average line infantry or whatever doesn't want to fight us in somewhere where they can't draw lots of shots on us, and we can just nip through the wall to escape from them and stuff like that. So whether it's Havocs or not, for controlling these flanks and forcing people down the middle where you've got your combat elements waiting in reserve, it gives us some zone control and ability to author the events of the battle. And I just wonder if that's because my first thought was having dense cover in the corners is kind of weird, because
it is,
you generally want to be behind dense cover to, be able to move out and shoot past it when you can. But shooting infantry, like with long range shooting infantry, does pretty good there, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's a nice spot for the Havocs. They get the benefits of being -1, while not taking them themselves.
Yeah.
Yep, I like it. Yep.
I want to just want to check because dense cover. No, this isn't the one I wanted. Terrain piece 3 so that's the dense cover, gets breachable, defensible, scalable, dense. So you don't get light cover.
Oh, it has difficult ground as well.
Has difficult ground, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, so the difficult ground, I think that's what I was thinking about when, Titanic units. Subtract 2 inches unless the moving unit is a flyer or flies, or if the Titanic unit and the
so
terrain
it doesn't apply because dense cover has to be at least 3.
Okay.
The
right.
Titanic can only move over it if it's under 3. So
it
to be fair,
says that above, and I didn't see it.
The way they're placed on the board, it's not like you'd be moving over them anyway, because then he just moves off the board.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not a big deal really.
Yeah. So that's the hot dog deployments, and I think the amount of terrain available to us there, because the long ways. The hammer and anvil type battles in 8th edition especially were...
Dude.
Oh, God.
I remember, I used to look at tournament packs and just be like, cool, how many hammer and anvil versions are in this one? Okay, those are the games that I basically will lose straight away.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, hell yeah.
I like them now.
Let's
I
dance.
actually look forward to them. Especially Deep Strike in the drills, because...
Yep.
You've got at least one round of shooting with them, and a charge will probably go. But yeah, so that's the hammer and anvils. There's plenty of cover there.
Yep.
GW ruins themselves may present a small issue, I think, but I think overall, with like you said, the amount of terrain will make it. It's probably going to be bottom of round 2, round 3 before the firefight begins in earnest, and by then. We've had at least 12 inches of movement with berserkers, if not more, due to transports. Go for it. I'll charge. Yeah. I will be charging from behind cover. I mean, where I can, you are not going to have the opportunity to overwatch, and you've got to stay a long way away to avoid that kind of charge. So let's ignore the scouring and look at both surround and destroy, and overrun is the other one. So now, just for everyone, Games Workshop hasn't announced these are the missions for this type, but when I was playing around with the overlays, the way the objectives are positioned really seemed to imply that...
Yeah, weird how they're positioned perfectly in every game type. So,
yes.
yeah. Yeah.
So this is a retrieval mission. Oh, let's clear that line off. So again, obviously starting from the, if we're in player zone, in deployment zone B, it's very similar, but we don't have exposed flanks because now we've got the LOS ruin there. I mean, there's a tiny bit of visibility, but not much. And the causeway in the centre is narrower. Now, what was it? You was watching a bat rep where there was a tank?
So TTT had one up. You can fit a Baneblade through that gap.
In this gap here, right?
Yeah, for a sense of scale for everyone.
Right. Okay.
That's the size of a Baneblade. But it is.
Baneblades are back, baby. Not quite, unfortunately.
Fellblades.
Was it the Sultan? Was it the Talon Baneblade they was using?
Oh, the Sultan it was, yeah.
Yes.
Oh man, I love that tech.
Watched
it's
it.
so cool.
I'm a bit behind on my tabletop tactics.
What an absolute beast.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I love the Talon army.
It's so good. I love their Ogrins with the turbans.
But,
They're so funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, like this is an interesting one. Like weirdly, this one has more exposed positions, which I think.
Yeah.
So like, my favorite part about the dichotomy between the Hammer and Anvil and Dawn of War style deployments, Hammer and Anvil ones, obviously you have the longer distance to close to get into combat, but your sort of cover is much better. So the Dawn of War ones, you don't have as long of a distance to cover, but you have to take risks by moving to choke points. So I really like that. I think the internal balance between those two is fantastic. That's probably my favorite thing, is that like I think the actual balance between those two specific deployment types is now made an awful lot better just by how the terrain interacts differently with each type.
Right, yeah.
If that makes sense. Let's look at those, like, there's 6 objectives on this, right?
Yes.
None of those are really in a position where you're gaining that much cover, or it's more like if you're holding those objectives, you are exposed to some sort of flank, pretty much. There's firing angles everywhere.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting one because the Hammer and Anvil ones, there was lots of objectives in places where you could hide.
Yeah.
So I like that. I think it's cool. Like these Dawn of War ones, they're definitely forcing you to take big risks and play hard and play fast.
Yeah, like what you were saying there a little while ago, or just before the objectives, about the long ways with lots of cover, short ways with greater travel distance, right? I was trying to work out, and it does look like the distance between the two ruins for No Man's Land, right? Because the red line is the ruin. So whilst you'll be on light cover in this sort of grey area here, you'll be visible. So this distance between the two red lines looks to be a solid 10 inches, I'm guessing. Maybe 12 inches. So yeah, if you're
it's so hard to judge. I think maybe 12 or 14.
Now, sure, if your berserkers, for example, are end of turn 1 or they're apoplectic frenzied to this position, to now they'll be opening the windows anywhere on this block, unfortunately, but they'll, depending on what the actual terrain being used is, you apoplectic frenzy there, and then you get your 6-inch movement up to about the halfway line, so that's 12 inches. So in fact you'd be able to go just over the halfway line. I mean, then depending on what they get, your next movement, you're inside that ruin.
Yep.
So, or, at this point, you're also, I mean, it's the same for any objective, but you're a YOLO 12-inch charge, and, you've got breachable terrain there. So you're probably able to avoid line of sight, depending, again, on what's in there and stuff like that. So, again, assault armies, that No Man's Land isn't horrific, and I'm sure they've measured specifically, probably not with World Eaters in mind, but with turn 1
with combat armies.
Yeah, with combat armies. So I don't know.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, it's really interesting, I think.
Ooh, that's Overrun. Look at that one. Can you see the objectives there? Let me just highlight them for.
Yeah, that is an interesting one.
Yeah, that makes a very interesting game.
I wonder, can you hold those objectives from within the obscuring runes? It's really hard to tell. Oh no,
yeah.
it would be from the center of the objective, so I don't think so.
No, it's from the edge of the objective.
Oh, you're totally right.
Edition is
yeah.
from the edge of the objective.
Yep.
So 3 inches.
Maybe.
I'm trying to figure out if those squares are 1 inch. I think they are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, they are. So can't. I think, yeah, by the looks of it. Now, of course, my overlay isn't exact because it's just an overlay, but it looks like if you're standing there, you may actually be touching the 3 inch point.
Now that is really interesting.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's intentional. Now, again, you're opening the windows by being inside, but
it's really cool the diversity between these.
Yeah.
Very similar deployments, but the mission plays so differently because of something as simple as placements.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, that one's really cool. I mean,
your flanks are actually the most secure positions in this one. Like, because of these terrain deployments here, and obviously like there and over here, like if you're on this objective, you've got a huge amount of line of sight blocking, and they have to get fairly close in kind of like this zone here, and I mean that's a really bad drawing, but in this kind of zone here that I'm scribbling in, to be able to threaten you, like assuming you're outside of the terrain piece, like if you've got like a tank parked over here or something like that, or
I guess they can technically shoot straight down the middle, like from one objective to the other.
Oh, like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There are firing lanes, no doubt. Like, let me clear all this crap off here. Can I do?
But I see what you mean. It's hard to close that engagement distance, right?
Yeah. So yeah, like here, like I mean, you've got an arc like that, and I can't see it, but so I mean, from back there, you've got quite a big. Like that, the large triangle is your firing arc or your firing lane. That seems, you have to position well though. Like,
oh yeah,
if
for
your
sure.
Opponent sticks all his shooting stuff like back here to get the if they stick back here to make sure they're getting the -1, they may not be able to move to get the line of sight, because I mean that's like a
that's difficult grounds.
And difficult ground, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I think for us, the biggest thing, deployment is going to be huge. We're actually going to want to practice on these maps,
and we can. That's the thing I love. Like,
we can practice.
My biggest thing is like I can now set these boards up and practice deployments, and I know when I go to an event, obviously if it gets taken on board, that this is what I'm going to be playing into.
Yeah. It's going to allow it allows list tailoring in a good way, because everyone can, rather than just someone who happens to know the TO and says, oh, so you're using, Game Mat EU terrain. Mark just mentioned something in the chat. It says, opening the windows also begs the question, are there lines of sight into the bottom floor of those ruins, or are they solid walls? Well, it's Games Workshop terrain. Is at least what they'll be using at their events.
And very confusingly, I was looking at my own collection today. Some of them are fully blocked on the bottom, and some of them are not. Yeah.
All
So
the official ruins I've got are just open windows.
So I have this like weird I can't remember what it's called. It's like a Mechanicus one. It's not like one of their chapel buildings.
Oh, okay. I've only got.
And that has a load of closed shutters on the bottom. But then you have those chapel ones,
I know
which
the ones
don't.
you mean. Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, it's a really interesting point, like Mark said. But obviously, with how obscuring works, if you're fully behind it and not within it, you can't use those windows anyway.
That whole square is the obscuring piece of terrain.
Yeah, so you just got to hang out behind it.
Oh yeah, if you're back here.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Okay, I thought you meant like if because.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Look, it's a difficult kind of thing. So when we play in the apartment, we always play those windows as being open and stuff, and
Really?
I kind of like it. I didn't like it
Okay.
at the start, but I've grown to like it now. I think
How
if
come?
all those, I just when we used to play with all of them blocked, it was too much. It genuinely, and especially on boards this dense, it actually just will be too much. You know, it's going to
Okay.
cover way, way too much. I think it's just going to be too easy at that point. I
Okay.
like that if you're going into the rune, you're actively making the decision that you will be somewhat exposed. And like at the end of the day, right? They're small windows. You
Yeah.
cannot put your guys in front of them. I know it's hard to do, but uh, like if someone's like, "Oh, I could draw a line of sight from, my deployment zone through that window in your deployment zone," I'm like, "Can
Yeah.
you though? Show me that you can."
Yeah.
I'm gonna
We're
call
going to
that
be
because I'm
taking
gonna make
laser
that.
pointers to tournaments again. It's
Yeah,
gonna. Yeah.
and that's fine by me because
Yeah.
I'm happy to call that. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't. I'll be like pressing my guys like to the sides of the windows. I'm like,
Yeah.
you can't see me. That's stupid.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah, I
just.
kind of it's a tough one. I would like it so that like not all the walls have windows, but some of them do.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I think for balance, obviously, um, the more closed windows, the more advantageous it is for us. But for overall game balance, because yeah, we're in a hard spot, but Tower in a hard spot, and just
Right?
because
Yeah.
Siegler brought them out and did well with them, it's because it's not because it's because he's a magnificent player. It's because I think he made in. I think it was him that did the Reddit post
Yep.
about his game review, and he said something. He knew what the terrain was going to be like, and he knew that he could bring Tau because the terrain was not favourable, but it would. He could play with that terrain and make his Tau work. Was why he took him. I believe he said that something along
Yeah.
those lines.
Along those lines. Yeah. But
Yeah,
like I obviously the more proper true obscuring there is, the better it is for world leaders. But like, dude, I don't
yeah.
want that. I
Yeah,
want a
no, I
balanced
don't want
game.
because and the problem is that forces other armies to be more combat orientated, and I don't want them more combat orientated. I want them to bring their
Oh no,
take all
I don't care
comers.
about that. I think we can take anyone in the game in the combat phase.
I don't know,
But
man. There's
well,
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Outside of a couple of, I think we could trade with everyone. I don't think there's any
yeah.
army that outcombats us. You know.
But yeah, being able to mitigate the shooting of a well-equipped Space Marine army, a well-equipped Jakari army, Death Guard army. Even I mean, I know they're not the shootiest army, but they're better than us unless we're utilizing Khorne. Like their plague burst crawlers and stuff are pretty nasty. They're rough at range, but when they get close with those flamers, they're fucking awful.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so look, I'm going to switch over to the second base now. This one here. So this is the alternative one, and to the
This is a
best
spicy meatball for
yeah,
me anyway.
to the best of my knowledge, this is for the alternate deployment maps. Because let me go back. So this one here has 6 of the missions: retrieval, scorched earth, surround and destroy, battle line, scouring, and overrun are the ones I predict will be on here. I think only 3 of them will actually. I think looking at it that way, I think it will be. Sorry, I'm wondering if it won't be the hammer and anvils type maps on here, and if they've got a third version for the for these,
Maybe.
or the
Yeah.
other way round,
Maybe.
one or the other, because there are, mind you, the scouring is,
Ugh.
there's 4 hammer and anvils and only 2 Dawn of Wars, because so maybe they're just going to get rid of the scouring and make it another Dawn of War, which would be nice.
Yeah. Let's hope for that.
Yeah, because the scouring's terrible. So that's 3 and 3, and then this one we get vital intelligence. That to me looks. I like this. I want to play this now.
That is like, okay, cool. I deploy. You can't see any of my army. I am
Yeah.
gonna mess you up.
Yeah.
It's really cool. I just love the aesthetic of that as well. I think
Yeah. It, it's perfect. It's so janky.
it's a really nice board.
Look,
Yeah, I love the diagonal deployments.
yeah.
They're
Like
just cool.
this, so like obviously you're guaranteeing your now this is a domination map, so it's hold 2, hold 3, but you've got your easy one. So they're your apostles, acolytes, or whatever, the squad of cultists, or even marines, whatever, sitting there, done. Job's done. You've got your first one, unless your opponent takes behind enemy lines, probably sitting there all game. You push hard on a flank. You're going to get 2 of them, so you'll get hold 3, and then your opponent, if in a balanced game, is doing the same thing. So you push some obsec to one flank, I push on the left, my opponent pushes on the right. Then it's about essentially who steals one from the enemy, or who deep strikes back here and takes that. They've become these. So, okay, I'm playing this tournament, it's 6 rounds, so I'm fairly certain I'll be playing Vital Intelligence. I need to have some deep strike. I need to have some speedy mobile, things that can advance and charge, or double move, or forward deploy, so I can make sure I'm capturing that 4th critical one and at least contesting it to give myself the 15-10 swing or whatever. And
I would say that the hammer and anvil and Dawn of War style, like that's like your death metal music kind of deployment, where it's like everyone's like, yeah, charge, blah blah blah, all the usual like da 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 da. This is like the Spanish tango, This is like you're dancing around your opponent. It's like da-da-lun, da-da-lun, and it's like, and then there's like this moment of engagement in the middle where everything trades out and the game is decided. I really like it. I think, I'm just trying to understand the movement of the army and how. So like you have an option here, right? Where it's like, gotta ask yourself, and this is like such a tough question. Is like, am I committing to one flank, like you said? So you could say you push northward towards those 2 objectives, and then your opponent pushes southward. Or do you split? Do you divide your forces evenly? Like, so for me, would I send 1 drill, 1 leviathan each way, or do I go hard? Into one? It's a really tough call, man. It's a very, very difficult decision to make, because like there's only one objective in your zone, which is very good for us as world leaders. We don't like too many objectives in our zone, because
we don't want to sit
that's not where we're being the most active.
Yeah.
That's not where we're delivering the potential for our army. This is fantastic. You can just huck 2 dark disciples there and just be like, see you later, boys. Apostles doesn't need the help. You're waiting here.
Yep.
Just leave them there. They're in obscuring. Whatever. Happy days.
Yeah.
It's especially with the smaller L shapes in the middle. It's that fight in the middle is going to be brutal.
To bring, I'm looking at the wrong one. To bring your berserkers or bikes or whatever you've got from, so in my opinion, so here, all right, 2 comments. First, when you said about the Spanish music, are you familiar with a piece of music called the Asturias?
I am not.
You'd probably recognise it if you heard it. It's a really famous Spanish guitar piece. It's exactly like you said. Starts off very mellow and acoustic.
Yeah.
And then it just goes hard. Like it's one of my favourite pieces of music ever. But it's like by Isaac Albeniz, who's a famous Spanish classical composer for that type of music. Anyway, in my head, as soon as you said that, I'm like, yes. Because, and this is the reason, because I would suggest this would be my play with what we have access to now. I would deploy wide, right? I like to deploy wide anyway. But I would deploy in such a way that maybe my heavier hitting units not in reserve were on one flank, kind of like left of the centre, right? I would have my Raptors on the wides, and probably whether I was doing a hero hammer kind of HQ or some other infantry unit over here. Give my opponent the impression that I'm coming across the board, but I'll probably spend up to 4 CP, maybe 5 on Apoplectic Frenzy here. I would push Raptors out to somewhere behind cover here to make them commit over here. Everything else, excuse me, everything else that I've frenzied is going to shift left, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to hold this ground, and then my mobile units, because my bikes or my second squad of raptors are going to come over here. So I'm going to skirmish on the right and I'm going to secure the left, and I'm going to win the left, and I'm hopefully going to contest just one on the right. Because of this crap blocking line of sight everywhere, I've got a turn of movement to do that. Does that make sense?
I'm following you. Yeah. Yep.
It's like I'm really liking that excuse me, style of play of showing your fist, as Mark said, showing your fist, but then, like for me, it's showing the fist, and then and it's like the game of hand slaps when you was a kid.
Yeah. It's like a feint,
It is, and then shifting. Oh my god, I'm just spat all over myself. Shifting left, and then using the mobility of raptors and bikes and apoplectic frenzy and whatever I've got. Throw away units to die for the sole purpose of contesting one objective for maybe 2 rounds, while I secure a base of operations over here. And if I get 15 points and 15 points, and I get my opponent to only get 5 or 10, this map is throwing away secondary points like nobody's business.
Oh yeah,
you're taken behind, unless you're facing a very hard counter to it. You're taken behind enemy lines right here. You're taking deploy scramblers because you've got 3 of them, easy as pie. Secondary points I'm not worried about on this. It's the eternal problem of what's the third one I pick, because I can't remember what the mission specific one is for this. But I don't know, man. I like this, like you said.
I think it's the easiest one for us to play into, I would say.
Yeah. It gives us everything we ever wanted. Good, solid secondaries. I think we are well equipped to do the primaries because of everything being in fucking terrain or close to. And also, it's a 24 inch? Yeah, 24 inch no man's land, which is pretty standard now. But I love it. I'm excited to play this.
I will probably play this one pretty soon. Like, I think this will be the first one I set up from the new one.
This is priority targets. So, again, we've got 3 secondaries straight away. I mean, you don't even have to think about it, unless you're playing knights or something where you may change one. We won't have problems picking secondaries on this map.
Nope, not at all. I mean, it's basically the same principle. Obviously, the deployment's a little bit different, but like the skirmish now is for the middle instead of the flanks. But you have so much methods of getting your guys in cover until they need to be in the center.
Yeah.
You can almost like drip feed your guys into that middle objective as they're needed to make sure that you're always contesting it.
Thinking.
Hold one in the ruins in your own base, hold one in the ruins at the top, and you're winning the game. That's all you have to do, It's really, really simple to win this mission.
Yeah. Because, especially for us. Because, again, I'm going to guess and say that's about 7 inches from inside the ruin here. In fact, it's probably 4 inches to get on the objective, right? So from inside here, you've got to move. So cultists, marines, berserkers are going to move and most likely contest that objective. Or they're going to charge. If they're berserkers, they're going to move, and then they're going to kill what's on that objective.
Which I think is really what you want. You want to keep your berserkers inside those ruins and then push them out. Yep. What I'm thinking here is I'm bringing my Dreadclaw in, like clogging up that main laneway, we'll say, coming out of my plum exactly right there. I just toss it down there, and I get the Chosen out into the terrain. And then I'm like, cool, now if you have vehicles, you have to drive past this thing. I probably don't even move it, or else I charge it into something and make it even more awkward. But like, then it's like, cool, I've blocked you. Sorry.
So right here, my bikes are deploying right here.
Oh yeah.
And they're getting to about hit. They're getting onto just past the objective, and well beyond. If a move block is more important than getting some shots off, 20 inches gets them around about here, blocking that alleyway. like exactly the same play as you. And if I am running the claw, then exactly the same play as you as well. Obviously, it depends on if they go first and stuff. Because then
Of course,
if they
yeah,
go first
yeah.
and come out, well, my claw's coming down here and scoring me. God
I'm
knows
also
how
like,
many
okay,
points.
cool. You can come out if you want to. My berserkers are charging out
Yeah.
of this rune, and basically the turn one.
I would most likely
Okay.
I would probably keep my one of my drills, if not both of my drills, in reserve still, just because I want them to pop up and threaten. Now, again, we have different play styles with them, but I would probably keep half of my berserkers, if not more, depending on the opponent, on the table instead of reserving them. Because of literally that, I want them
Okay.
set up and ready. At least 1 or 2 squads set up and ready here. Every turn, something is going onto that objective, and I'm holding 3 the whole game. And I'll use my Dreadclaw or whatever other a drill. I would love to bring a drill back here with a squad of berserkers and threaten that one as well.
Yep.
That's.
I mean, I'm just gonna fly Hellblades there and be like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
I know you're obscuring, but that part of the rune doesn't have anything there,
Exactly. Yeah, you've
and
got that
those
option.
10
there.
guardsmen are now gone.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
That's why I really like the Hellblades. They just don't care about any of this. They're like, oh yeah, you have an open back to the rune. Your ass is exposed, and now it's mine.
was
And that's
telling you,
literally it.
You know, I said, I think it was yesterday, I told you how I was thinking about going for a Hellblade again, just a single
Yeah.
go. That's based on basically exactly that. It wasn't this mission. It was against the Tyranids I played against. I needed something to reach out and touch Rippers. If I could have knocked one squad of Rippers down, but I had nothing. I couldn't afford
That's
to
all
commit.
I use them for. I just use them to shoot like weak squads. I don't think I've ever targeted anything relevant with them
Yeah.
in terms of like, oh, that's like a tank or like, you know, it's always like, oh, five like dudes, you know, especially like, because I guess I've been playing Dark Elder a lot recently, like Cabalites and Witches, those 5-man squads holding objectives. I'm just like, oh, hey, cool, bye, you know, and it's really good at doing that. And like, I know now to expect that it can deal with that.
Yeah.
And like once I have that in my head as like that's the unit's role, I will always like be like, okay, cool, you know, boom.
Yep.
And I think in this mission especially, it's just really good. I think one Hellblade, it's not enough for me. It dies too easy. Like it's quite weak. You know, that's my only issue with the Hellblade. It's great that it has an invuln, but like if it gets shut down, you're like, oh, I needed that. You know. But if you got 2, you're like, well, I have 1 more.
Yeah, I understand, but yeah, that's another discussion when you can sell me on the Hellblade. So let's look at sweep and clear the table quarters, which is the odd man out really of the mission.
Yeah, it's an ugly one.
It doesn't feel too different though from priority targets. The objectives are in exactly the same places. You're you're slightly more restricted in your deployment. You're just getting into the fight immediately. Like we can apoplectic frenzy onto the objective.
I just don't. My problem is I don't like having to. The top objective is so far. You know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I don't like that.
It's 12. Well, you can apoplectic frenzy onto there as well.
Yeah. True. That's true.
To touch it, I mean, because the objective itself is not infinitely small. It's 60 mil or 50.
Terminator base basically. Yeah.
So 40 millimeter then.
I think so. Yeah.
Because it's not infinitely small, it's 3 inches from the edge. So if you tow this line with whatever and 9-inch move it, you're on that objective. Not that you need to be turn 1, but
you can be.
You can be, and in fact, you can be on 4 objectives turn 1 with apoplectic frenzy.
Oh, dude, that's crazy.
That's
so crazy. That is really interesting.
If you're facing a slow army, like if you've got Death Guard without any of those the flying,
the bloat drones,
the bloat drones, or
oh, dude, I would definitely make that play,
because
you know what? I think there's actually like a big place for say an apoplectic squad of Red Butchers coming out and taking up residence in one of those central ruins or behind it. And just being like, yo, you want to hang out? We can hang out.
The central ruins, which is Terrain Piece 2, scalable, breachable, light cover, and defensible. So
Yeah.
you're getting
You got that
with
one up save.
Terminators. You've got the 1-up save against shooting.
I think I would just put them behind it though. I don't
Well,
think I
yeah.
would move them into it to
But
get
still,
the obscuring.
if you're touching it, like if you have to touch it, but yeah, you obviously obscuring's better. But then if you're facing something with like mobile shooting, like they've got Las Chickens or Dark Eldar Raiders or something that you think they can get some shots off at you, then you go in, you get a 1-up save. Then if they've got combat, you do the hold steady or whatever it is to +1 to hit.
Yes,
those red butchers just become ridiculous.
I would Overwatch with them at that point. You know, I would be like Overwatch in 5s.
Yeah.
I arm them with combi bolters, but like, yeah, I don't know. It depends what's charging you, though, of course.
Yeah.
It really
what's going to charge? Look, what is going to charge a squad of red butchers? Something that can take them in combat.
Incubi.
Yeah. So okay.
Speaking from experience, Incubi.
But the problem is, you know, like if depending on where they are and the distances, if they're charging you from outside of cover. Like,
so the thing is, Incubi will be able to charge you in turn 1 from like a 2-inch charge for sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they'll be able to be right. Like in the Dark Eldar matchup, you don't want to move your guys up there. They'll be right there with you immediately, and you will lose that squad of red butchers, no problem.
But I'm just saying,
in other matchups, like against like the Admech or the Deckard, like you said, it's a seriously good play because you zone them out straight away.
Yeah.
And in their turn 1, they're like, oh shit, like I have to deal with these guys over here, and then these guys over here, and then you've got drills and hellblades, and the whole gangs come out to play, and they just don't know what to do.
Yeah, I think this setup especially, every one of these janky table quarters or diagonals, I know what I kind of the game, the script writes itself right here.
It's an easier game to plan out. It's an easier one to deploy in.
Yeah, we it fits with
the board makes the choice for you, basically.
Yeah. We want combat. We've got the apoplectic frenzy, and we like having those things that block line of sight. Assuming that these are the 3 missions we can expect on this layout. Again, it's speculation. I think it's pretty.
Oh, dude, I think you cracked it though. Yeah. I mean, like the way the objectives like kind of shadow over the whole thing. I think that's.
It feels.
That's the one. Yeah. For sure.
So let's briefly talk about the terrain itself, I guess, because you touched on it in the intro, the kind of lack of craters and
but I didn't realize that the dense terrain has difficult ground.
But it's in the core. Well, I guess in this one here,
it depends on the layout. It's not always kind of insignificant. So yeah. It's interesting. I mean, I would like a central crater, but at the same time, seeing how dense the boards are and looking at the deployment now, I'm kind of glad there isn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would like a bit more of that. But I think as they stand, you know, like I was still a little bit on the fence about all this stuff, but having this discussion, you know, going through the deployments, going through the plans, I don't really want anything else now. You know, I'm like, oh, this is enough.
Yeah. I think I'm just highlighting stuff here. So really, I mean, I don't see any difference between Terrain Piece 1 and 2 except size.
Yep. Yeah, so, I think that's all. Yep.
They have literally exactly. I believe there was I saw a comment somewhere where Terrain Piece 2 may be like single level and Terrain Piece 1 will be multi-level with like.
Impossible to know.
Yeah. Like it doesn't.
Yeah,
make
sure.
much,
that might be true,
verticality isn't very important at the moment. Sure, Raptors can go and challenge stuff up there, but we don't have...
like the ability for Dark Eldar to fly their boats up on top of stuff and shoot down is pretty scary. But aside from that, really, it's not a big deal.
Well, with GW, I think it won't just be like a single walk away, it'll be like half of the floor.
Yeah, there's going to be
so
verticality.
yeah, you can
sure.
you can do something. And I mean, like there is no one World Eaters list, right? But let's look at your list. You've got flyers, you've got you're working in grav, you've got melter, you've got stuff that shoots, right? My
Yep.
list has stuff that shoots. The lists that went to the ACO had obliterators in Ben's list, had a Lord of Skulls and Vindicators. We're all running some shooting stuff.
Yep.
It's I think we've developed as a general meta through the end of 8th into 9th, from coming out of 7th and like Khorne Demonkin and Rhino Rushes and stuff like that. 8th edition we hurt because
We couldn't afford to. We didn't have the option to invest in shooting because it's like we always said before. You have to. In 8th, we had to account for roughly 30% of our army not making it to the enemy. Now
and
it's probably closer.
Or the
Yeah.
Rhinos, yeah.
And now it's like, I guess, probably closer to what, maybe 10-15% don't make it.
Yeah, and that's if you're
Thereabouts.
unlucky. Like,
Yeah. I mean, it depends on your matchup again, but I think it's a safe estimate.
yeah, I think
So that gives us that option, to bring in that shooting.
So and plus with Drill Gang being real, like that's
that brings a whole other level of shooting, doesn't it?
And then also the Claw being able to deliver some light shooting, and Red Butchers being able to deliver some light shooting from reserve, or melter from reserve if needed. And these things, like now, the way the lists have developed, I'm not worried about someone hiding on the top of a roof. I can reach out and touch them if I need to. And while they're hiding up there, they're not scoring an objective at the end of the day, which they need to be doing. But yeah, so what did I have here? Okay, I don't think we really need this. These are the keywords that are covered. And it is weird that they didn't include heavy cover and like exposed positions, and they went through all this work of creating all these keywords and then haven't used some of them. Just seems a bit weird to me. I don't know. I
guess maybe they tried them out and it didn't make sense in their practice games. I mean, I'm sure someone made that decision,
Yeah. I mean, overall, I think if I go back to terrain setups here, let's take that off. I really like it. For number one, as a World Eaters player with like mobile combat. Number two, just as a combat, like whether you're Blood Angels or combat Tyranids or anyone like you, like even what are they called? I can't think.
Sisters of Battle, Deckard. I don't know, dude. You've lost me here.
Yeah, I can't think. Just combat armies in general, right? Even if you're like someone like Necrons and you're running, I think they have a dynasty that's kind of like leans into combat a bit more and stuff like Farsight Enclaves, Combat Tau, whatever. It's good for you. It's good for anyone like that, because of the cover available, the line of sight blocking. But it affects it's the implications for the game on a whole with GW doing this. I mean, what do you think about that?
I think it's meta shaping. It's definitely going to change the meta. Going to see a lot more out of line of sight shooting coming back for sure. But it's difficult to. It's not as easy to bring that as it was before,
Yeah. Fucking world.
Look, I think it's gonna be. It's really difficult to say kind of where things are gonna stand after this, how widely it's implemented. That's what we really need to see. Who's actually gonna take this on. I think it's a good thing though. I mean, for me, it's a thumbs up. I would say it's a solid 7 or 8 out of 10. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like I said, I have the impression that it is very much only 2 revealed of potentially 3 or more layers.
Yeah, I get that vibe.
I'd have to read the exact wording again, but that's my impression. Because 2 layouts isn't enough for, like, if you're going to a super major, if you're playing 6+ games, you want more than 2 layouts.
Yeah, you want 4,
yeah,
I think.
Yeah, I know several other creators have talked about, and I know it's more in the UK at the moment, having standardized terrain layouts. Like, and I wonder if like TTS has kind of influenced that a bit by having like the WTC maps, which WTC I believe has tried to use. You know, for missions 11, 21 and 31 you have the same terrain or something. And this is heading in that direction, and I'm okay with it. Like,
yep, so it goes back to what we said earlier. Standardization is a good thing.
Yeah.
It means that it really comes down to you as a player and your opponent as a player, rather than like you can no longer really use the, not an excuse, but like you can't say like I lost that game because the terrain messed me over, you know?
Yeah.
Now it's like, well, it was the same for everyone, dude. So if you lost that game, you lost that game.
And it goes beyond that because, you know, because of the standardization, right? So if they had done this and like, let's say there was just, let me go over here. Like we had this piece of terrain and this piece of terrain and the 4 corners, right? Let's say they did that. That's basically Planet Bowling Ball again, right? We're going back to Tau suddenly winning every event, right? However, in that event, we as a combat army at least know what every battle is going to look like aesthetically, and we can build our army around that, right? We can say, okay, well, I have to run 4 drills because I've got, or, you know, 2 drills and 2 dreadnoughts because I have to be able to deploy in such a way. Because of being able to prepare for that. So now Tau players can't say, or I don't want to rag on Tau players, shooting armies can't say, oh, 9th edition isn't fair because you can't get line of sight. You know what it looks like, so bring mobile shooting, or bring line of sight ignoring shooting, or bring deep strike shooting. Bring shooting that works on this, because if you lose and you want to say, oh, I couldn't see anything, that's your fault. You knew
what you were getting into. Yeah. Fact. I think it's great for that. It's really just kind of the road, which was previously very wide, is getting narrower and narrower when it comes down to the actual difference of a gaming player skill.
Yeah.
And it's getting closer and closer to just being about that, which is fantastic. I love it. It's the tournament scene has come on so much in the last
one
year.
edition.
It's so good, dude. Yeah. It's so like I enjoyed 8th. I really did.
I loved 8th, but I really loved.
I think back to it now, and I'm like, dude, if you made me play a game of 8th, I would be like, no, dude, I'm not playing that shit. Like, it's so bad now. In comparison,
imagine
this
if
is
COVID
really good.
hadn't happened, man. Imagine if COVID, if we're basically
so
a
depressing
year
to think about
everything. Tournament scene and the meta shaping, codexes, FAQs. Like, okay, it is what it is. I'm not gonna. We should be a year beyond this. This should probably be the norm right now. It's not because of the way the world is.
Look, we're getting there though, and that's the main thing. I'm really excited.
It's exciting. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good.
I hope everyone else is hyped too. I think it's an interesting time. It seems that like almost every month now we're getting a change to
something
how things are played. Yeah, which is great.
Points or FAQs or
yeah.
I
think we did it, man. I think we covered it all.
I think we got it. So just want to clarify. I wonder if anyone's still in the stream. Let's see. Oh, holy shit! We actually got some people. Like real numbers, man. That's crazy.
Hell yeah.
Well, thanks everyone for coming on. And,
thanks so much, guys. Hope it was an entertaining one. I kind of just felt like, after a while, that just felt like we were just on one of those calls where we just like aren't recording, you know, we're just chatting about stuff. I was like, after a while, it just actually completely just left me that we were doing a video or whatever. I was just like, I started like lapsing into deep thought. It was like, oh, but what about these other ideas?
That's why I said today, like, do you want a live stream? Because every time we talk, like, we're like, okay, so we need to plan the next 5 videos out or whatever, right? And then we just, oh, did you read about that? And then we just bullshit for like an hour and like come
I think
up
was it like yesterday that we were like, oh, we should do a thing about the deployment and terrain and stuff.
Yeah.
Here we are 2 hours later.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Andrew says he's got a quick question. Shoot it, man, while we're wrapping up.
If anyone wants to shoot us questions, now would be the good time.
Yeah, get anyone with questions, throw them in. I'm going to do my spiel while you type questions, and then we will answer you here in a minute. Thanks everyone who has tuned in.
Really appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, we do want to do these kind of things more often. Today just kind of worked out for both of us, so I think we talked about normally Sundays will everything allowing, we're looking at Sunday afternoons. Is that still?
I think so. Yeah. Don't hold us to anything just yet, because
your work schedule.
Obviously, my work schedule is pretty erratic, and yeah.
I mean,
it's
pretty
pretty
work in progress. I mean, you know what? I'm not committed to like solidifying a date and time, so we can definitely, maybe every 2 weeks.
Because I think it's like Sunday afternoon for you is like evening for me, and I think that works. So it's pretty good to.
We'll come up with that, and just to go over again, anyone who's been here since basically the start of the live stream, you've got the whole content. We will be chopping off the first 20-30 minutes or so for the re-upload. So if you're watching this on a playback, there's 20 or 30 minutes which you missed, but that goes to the patrons only. Every time we do a live stream or a long discussion, we're making it available for everyone who comes in live. And then what's getting chopped off isn't like exclusive. It's not me dancing naked or anything like that, but it's just we basically
that's the OnlyFans coming soon, right?
I know, right? It basically, we just sit, we see what's going on with each other, and we kind of make a plan for the video, which is the thing you for some.
I guess it's like
watch.
it's like a more natural kind of like
informal thing.
What's the vibe, kind of,
And I'd like to, once we get more established and like a schedule for this, have, whether it's the patrons or just anyone who shows up, maybe throw questions at us, and we can do like a Q&A at the end of the video and stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, we'll worry about that later. So Andrew did say for tournaments, is it GW only for 100% GW models? So at GW tournaments, so the one we've been talking about, and anything at Warhammer World, and anything at a Games Workshop / Warhammer store, yes. Is that right? I know it is over here.
Oh, technically, you can send, if you have like third-party stuff, you are allowed to send them an email and ask if you can. I know it's like 3D printing is specifically the thing they took a stance against.
It has to be something you sculpted yourself, though.
Yeah, when it comes to third-party, I believe you can still send them an email and say, "Look, this is the situation."
Okay.
I think that was it. There was a bit of misinformation. I think some people took the document a little bit out of context and decided their own things on it. So yeah, but it is just GW only. Like, this is for the Warhammer World events, and the Open series. So in the grand scheme of things, like 1% of the events that will happen.
Yeah.
So no need to worry.
Yeah. So as a general rule, like. As a short answer, yes, GW only. And long answer is speak to the TOs. Which you know what? If you like, for an RTT, I messaged the TOs like, "Hey man, I'm running like accounts as model. Is this cool?" Absolutely fine.
Always do that. It's just a good thing to do.
Always check if you've got any questions, whether it's GW or a third party or a 3D print or accounts as or a proxy. Run it by a TO. You know months in advance you're going, just say hey. So with axes and emblems, that's my whole army. With third party stuff, I
mean, you can still play in all the other events. I mean, look, it's only 3 tournaments in, so it's not a big deal if you can't make those ones.
I believe like emblems. Like I know I read somewhere like because my old Raven Guard army had Pop Goes the Monkey Raven 3D prints on the shoulder because like I wanted them. I believe stuff like that is okay because GW.
Oh yeah,
doesn't
if it's just
produce it.
that, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure as long as you say it to them, it's okay.
Yeah, I think
know?
axes. I don't know.
Yeah,
that would
I
be
couldn't
what I
tell
would
you.
ask about because
It's
technically,
weapons, which is a loadout, so I think
Yeah.
that muddies the water a little bit.
yeah, I would reach out. Like Andrew, if you're thinking about going to a GW event, take some honest quality pictures and email them. If they say no, then that's what you've got to. I mean, you've got to deal with it. Unfortunately,
It does suck,
sucks.
but it is
Yeah.
their event, and like it's their like they are within their right
Yeah.
to say that, and it
But
does suck.
It only excludes you from 1%, like Dara said, of events. You can
Yeah.
still go to the ITC or WTC or whatever your local, tournament circuit is, and it will almost never be a problem. And if it is, you don't want to play there anyway,
Fact,
pretty
yeah.
much. So I think we're going to wrap it up here. Anyone who watches, you still got time to donate to get Bellacore. Still got time. $5. $5 to save the children, and you can get Bellacore.
5. That's all.
$5. Okay, I'm gonna end the stream any minute. Dara, thank you for being here. Thank you for coming.
It was an absolute blast, folks. Thanks for coming and hanging out with us. I hope it was an enjoyable one.
I think people stuck around for a couple of hours. I think we pulled it off. So thanks everyone. Have a great evening. I'm gonna end the stream here.